Supreme Magus, Chapter 29, True Magic and Fake Magic. What do you mean with true magic? Lid said. At this point, it's still too early to tell. Of course, if you are too curious, you can look at my mind right now. But I don't know. How helpful could it be? Lid merged his mind with Solace, discovering she wasn't exaggerating at all. Her mind was full of ifs and buts, constantly examining facts, revisiting memories, making one speculation after another before dismissing them. What can I do to help you? I need two things. First, all the books about history of magic you can find. Second, we need to get out of here and do some experiments. I'll explain everything later. Lid went to Nana asking her for help. Sure, I have a magic history book, but it's not such an interesting topic, so I only purchased one covering the last couple hundred years. Is that enough for you? Lid shook his head. Can you please contact Count Lark and ask him if I can borrow some more from him? You sure are an oddball. First you beg me to teach you magic. I never begged. It's you who offered to teach me, and I accepted. Nana pretended to not have heard anything and continued. And now that you get an opportunity to practice real magic, you want to bury yourself in history books? After pondering about what you told me and what Magus Locra wrote, I understood that I need to understand the past to comprehend the present and plan for the future. Lid improvised, digging up an old family motto. Makes sense, sort of, Nana conceded. I'll contact Lark via the communication amulet and see what I can do. The Count has one too? Lid asked in surprise. It's not some sort of secret or anything. Nobles, merchants, soldiers, no matter your background, as long as you can afford the price, you can get yourself one. Lid thanked Nana before returning to the study room. The book was very detailed, recording both historical turning points and lore. Lid didn't know what they were looking for exactly, so he read carefully, skimming only the parts about conflicts between countries or magic associations. Instead, he focused on studying the life of influential mages, archmages, and magi. After spending a few hours researching the past, he had already found a recurring pattern in the rise of magi. Some were recognized as genius at an early age. Most of them had started being considered mediocre at best, never achieving noteworthy results until at some point their talent simply skyrocketed. It usually happened between the 30 and the 40 years of age, well past their supposed prime, when the magical community had pretty much forgotten about them. Of course, the author had no idea what happened to cause such a turnaround, so he just presented the theories most popular at the time. Too bad that those paragraphs resembled more a work of fiction than history reports. According to some rumors, Magus Elista had married in secret the god of magic, while others claimed that she had found a mystical amulet from a lost civilization that was able to grant her unlimited mana. The same had allegedly happened to Magus Morgana and Fregic, an obscure start followed by a sudden rise in power and glory, with no plausible explanation outside fairy tales and divine encounters. Could this be what Solus was looking for? Maybe what changed them wasn't some insane stroke of luck, but the discovery of true magic Solus mentioned before. Lid was about to close the book, having run out of Maggie, when Solus stopped him. "Turn the page, please." Lid had no idea why, but did as instructed. By quickly reading through the page, he noticed it was about some disorders in a faraway place during which several low-ranked mages had died. Solus had him flipping every page until the book ended. It was already lunchtime, so Lid started walking back home. "Did you find anything important?" "Yes, I think so. I just need us to perform some experiments to put my theory to test. If I am right, once you experience the difference between fake and true magic, you'll be able to understand my reasoning. I hope that once you do, you can help me fill the holes I am unable to explain." Lid's mind and heart were in turmoil. The road seemed to stretch endlessly in front of him. Even when he sat around the table together with his family, he was unable to hide his unpleasant feelings. Damn it. First my real origin, then spirit magic, fusion magic, and now this. How many secrets do I have to keep to protect myself from this world, to protect my family from me? Couldn't I just find a magical hammer or something granting me godlike powers? Or maybe just be handpicked by an ancient magician to become the champion of order just by speaking one frigging word? Why does everything have to be so complicated? I really love my family, except for Tryon, but I can be honest with them. At this rate, I will never have friends, a lover, anything. I will be forced to spend my life alone with my secrets. "No, not alone," Solus' voice resounding in his mind, full of kindness and affection. The tower core around Lid's neck pulsed, releasing gentle waves of mana that enveloped his body like a warm embrace. Lid's mood lightened a bit, allowing him to have a pleasant meal and conversation with his family, telling each other the respective day's work. After doing the dishes, he was finally able to leave home and go to the Tron Woods. Lid had his own special glade deep in the woods, a place spacious enough to train his magical skills without endangering trees or wildlife, away from prying eyes. Lid and Solus double-checked their surroundings for intruders or magical beasts. Finding none, Lid could finally take out his grimoire from the pocket dimension and start memorizing the simplest Tier 1 spell he had found in Nana's book. "We didn't need something powerful or complex for our experiments, only something to compare with your own spells. The faster you master it, the soon we'll have our answers," Solus explained. The spell was Piercing Eyes, a watered-down version of the Ice Spear spell that Lid used against huge opponents like the Rye or the Boars. Its magic word was Jaruna Lituh, with accent on the U for Jaruna and the I for the Lituh. He had signs required to start with the index's fingers touching themselves before pulling them away, drawing in the air a 7 with the right index, while the left one had to execute mirrored movements at the same time. After that, the left hand had to stop while the right index had to rotate, drawing a forced circle before pointing at the target. The expected result was conjuring and shooting a giant ice shard against an enemy. Damn it. And this is a simple one. So much effort for so little return. At his first try, Lit managed to conjure some kind of giant fork that traveled forward for a couple of meters before crashing on the ground. You did not aspirate the H, Solus remarked. Then it came a boomerang that almost chopped his head off. It's lituch, not lituch. After a series of non-life-threatening failures, Lid had to admit he wasn't able to learn both the pronunciation of magic word and the hand signs at the same time. So he had to sit down and recite the spell until he got it right. After that, he had to face head on his poor hand-eye coordination. That's not even a 7, more like a 1. Do the second line steeper. You are supposed to draw a circle, not an egg. Will you stop your left hand during the last movement, please? Otherwise, we never see the end of it. Failure after failure, Solus kept nagging in Lid's mind, correcting the many mistakes he did during each try. If you are so good, why don't you try it yourself? Lid rebutted, bursting with frustration. Sorry, I do not have a body, not to mention I cannot perform any spells unless you first know how to do it, and you give me the permission for it. It was a long afternoon for Lid, full of cursing, sweating, and casting, not necessarily in that order, before he finally managed to get piercing eyes right. He kept repeating the spell until it became a second nature to him. I can't believe I had to work so hard for the simplest spell. I have barely an hour before the sunset. Hey Solus, is it enough time? Or do we wrap things up for today and go back home? It's more than enough. Tell me, how does it feel using magic that way? To be honest, it does not feel at all. I'm so focused on all that crap that I can barely breathe. Solus mentally nodded. Perfect. Now, cast your ice spear spell, shooting only one spear. Lid was so tired to need to actually use the magic word. Joran. With a flick of the wrist, Lid conjured a slender, sharp-eyed javelin that struck the nearest tree, faster and harder than the piercing eyes. Now focus. How did you do it? Lid couldn't understand all those apparently stupid questions, but he trusted Solus enough to know she wasn't just trying to piss him off. Like usual, first I mentally visualized the effect of my spell. Things like the shape of the spear, the trajectory, etc. Then I used my mana core to generate enough mana to support my spell, taking in account the size of the spear I wanted to conjure and how strong I wanted it to strike. Finally, I projected my mana on the outside, mixing it with the world's energy to have access to the water element, and voila! Okay, now use piercing eyes again. This time do it slowly. Try to feel how your mana flows according to the spell. Lid needed a few tries before succeeding in the task. Solus has assigned him. The result was astonishing. What the heck? As soon as I start with the hand signs, a portion of my mana leaves my body. And there is more. The magic word determines how my mana interacts with the world energy, in this case the water element, while also giving the spell its shape and size. Lit could tell that if Solus had a face, now she would have a smug grin from ear to ear. You're almost at the finishing line. Do piercing eyes again, but try making the eyes shard bigger. I can't. Lit was flabbergasted. If I try adding more mana, the spell becomes unstable and dissipates. Solus asked him to try generating a second ice shard to make the single shard faster, and finally to alter its trajectory right after it materialized. The answer was always the same. I can't. The whole spell is set in stone. Once I learn the proper signs and pronunciation, I become nothing more than a mana source and a target system. My mana core and imagination play no part in this type of spell casting. Lit suddenly reached enlightenment. And that's why you consider it fake magic. Calling it fake is a little extreme, but for simplicity's sake, let's call it that. Lit could sense Solus brimming with pride. Now I can finally share my theory with you. First of all, I'd like you to think back about all the steps necessary for you to use true magic. Solus paused for a moment, giving Lit time enough to think. What's your point? My point is that what you so casually dismiss as usual is actually a really complex feat, much harder than fake magic. Sorry, I still can't follow you. Solus' mind snorted in frustration. True magic isn't as simple as you make it out to be. It requires to be aware of your own mana core and to be able to generate the right amount of mana for each and any spell. Too much mana and it would backfire on you. Too little and it would not succeed. It also requires to be able to project your mana outwards, reaching out to the world energy by yourself. I doubt even Nana would be able to do that. Lit found that last part hard to believe. When you put it that way, sure, it's not an easy feat, but is what everyone does with your magic. What's the difference between true and your magic? Why no one else uses it? The difference is the amount of mana required. Your magic needs little mana, so you can use it even without activating your mana core, while true magic may require great amount of mana according to what are you trying to accomplish. Seeing as Lit was struggling, Solus started to use a monotone lecturing tone. Your magic is a very foundation for magic. It teaches you everything you need except how to activate the mana core. Fake magic is like a crutch, a foolproof magic for dummies spell casting method. Only need to learn a few words and gestures, and it does everything by itself as long as you have enough mana. My hypothesis is that chore and fake magic are taught in this order as a training course towards true magic, but only few, like the Maggie, understand that fake magic is not about finger movements and spelling words. It's about perceiving the mana flow and learning how to control it. Your breathing exercise are a crutch as well, but a good one, since they help you access the mana core, making you aware of the mana flow. Fake magic, instead, is a bad one, since it makes its users too reliant on its power. Most fake magic users are so obsessed by details like hand signs and pronunciation that live their whole lives without noticing what lies beyond. Fake mages, especially those with great talent, become so complacent, being able to do what no one else can, that they never stop for a moment to ask themselves why. It's kind of ironic. Lit was astonished. Everything made perfect sense. But if you had all this figured out, why didn't you tell me? What are those holes in your theory that you mentioned earlier? Celeste was embarrassed, but replied nonetheless, because I can answer some key points of my own theory. If I am right, why is fake magic the only one available for everyone? Why do mages kill whoever tries spreading it to the whole world? Say what? Solus merged their minds, showing to Lit all the things she had noticed reading the history book. How so many theorists and rising mages had all died in accidents or mysterious circumstances, often right after announcing to the magical community a groundbreaking discovery. Others, instead, would be dismissed as frauds before going mad and disappear. Lit could only laugh his heart out. Oh my, Solus, you are so smart and yet so naive in the ways of mankind. The answer is really simple. Do you know why back on Earth we have traffic jams? Because everyone could get a car. Would you really let any madman, any naive fool, get his hands on this kind of power? Fake magic is a mean to control the masses. It's not the final test like you think. After one discovers true magic, the final test is proving to be smart enough to silently join the club and reap the benefits. And if you don't like the club rules, the only way out is death.